what better way to share my journey and to entertain you than to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with you and tell you more about myself. Hello world, thanks for stopping by and taking a look at this video. Appreciate you coming by my channel today. If you're not a subscriber and you haven't seen one of my videos, my name is Mickey. I live in the great state of Texas with my dog Buckshot, and I am on a homestead journey. Here on my channel, I hope to connect with you, to entertain you, to learn something together, but mainly to connect with the larger homesteading community. So today I thought I would come out to the backyard garden here and talk to you a little bit more about myself and what I'm doing in my story. In some of my past videos, I mentioned that I don't have land yet, don't have property. I found a real estate agent that I've started working with, and I'm learning a lot more about how to find the right piece of property. I put out a video a while back that talks about what I'm looking for. One of the things I've learned recently about finding property is that real estate agents in Texas have to be licensed for a particular area. I believe it's by county, so I'm going to have to be able to work with multiple real estate agents around central Texas, southeast Texas, and try to find people who can help me find property in the counties that I'm looking in. I was born and raised in Texas. Most of my family was, and I don't intend on leaving Texas, so where I've kind of broadened my search and started looking in places that I hadn't looked in before, I still don't plan on moving more than 2.5 hours away from the Houston area. So as I said, I thought I would come outside and sit in the garden and have a cup of coffee and talk with you a little about my story and how I've gotten to today. I recently quit my job back November of 2019. Just before all the COVID craziness started, I quit my job, and I had been working in a computer science related field. Been working with a big multinational company for 21 years, and I was doing pretty well, but there was no satisfaction. It was highly stressful. It consumed all of me. It took everything every day just to get through the day, and then there was nothing else. And I've been dreaming about homesteading, living out in the country for many years. At this point, I really wanted to focus. I really needed not just a time to rest, which was kind of how things got started in considering quitting my job, but also to really focus on finding property and getting a homestead started. Quitting a good job was really difficult. It's been pretty scary getting started here. It's a real leap of faith. And I really try to put God first and pray about this a lot and make sure that it's His will that I'm doing this. And so far, with His grace, everything has been fine. You know, as I said, with all the craziness going on with lockdowns and everything, I was already at home. So it wasn't really that huge an ordeal for me. I know it was for a lot of people out there, and I pray for you guys who might still be out of work and struggling with how to pay your bills. If you look back at another one of my videos, I talk about how to become debt-free, and being debt-free was a very important part of this. I had to become debt-free to even begin thinking about quitting my job. And I didn't really become debt-free originally to Homestead. It was a consideration in the back of my mind, but I was really on a path for doing other things that made me begin the process of becoming debt-free. But I am so glad that I did. It's so wonderful to feel free of having those mortgages and car payments and all of those bills hanging over your head all the time. I wonder how many of you have done things the same way. Did you quit your job and start your homestead as a leap of faith? Did you already grow up on property and maybe you were blessed enough to take it over for your parents, your family? Let me know. I hope you'll drop me a comment and start a conversation about how you ended up on your homestead. For me, while this is a real dream of mine, it's still really scary. It's still definitely a leap of faith. So as I prepare for my homesteading, I really think a lot about what my expenses are going to be. You know, I'm still going to have to work somehow. I'm still going to have some income coming in, whether that's selling vegetables at a farmer's market or selling eggs or selling pork. You know, I would like to be able to raise pigs, but all of these things are gradual steps on a homestead. I definitely plan to have chickens early. I think that they're an animal resource that can both help me in prepping gardens. I think they can help me make good compost and are simple enough that I don't have to struggle too much other than predators and keeping them healthy, and hopefully they'll not free range exactly, but have the chicken tractors and use a more Joel Salatin style, you know, permaculture style way of raising them. Now I have tons of crazy hobbies, and I have lots of skills when it comes to computers and technology, so I can always fall back on those capabilities and those skill sets. But it's going to be kind of difficult if I'm out in a country setting to find a way to establish an income using the skills that I already have, rather than using skills of homesteading while I'm there on the property. I wonder how many others out there in the homesteading community are working a second job. I know of a few who have mentioned it on their channels, but it would be interesting to hear from you and let me know if you're still working a second job, how that's working out for you. So as I said, right now I'm not working. I am focused 100% on my church family, my own family, Bible study, praying a lot, and learning the skills of homesteading. That's kind of my life right now. And it's been wonderful, but I really still need to focus on finding property, especially while I still have savings. I'm living off of my savings right now, so it's important that I get down to business and find some property and work on the house, because the house is a huge asset. Being debt-free, my house will be an asset to finding property and keeping myself on the right track, living debt-free until the homestead is established and I'm starting to grow my own food. Another thing that I think about a lot right now when it comes to how terrifying it can be to make this leap of faith. In growing your own food, it takes a while to establish your gardens, and you need to be prepared for droughts and other natural things that could impact your food supply. Dealing with things that you can't possibly know about, natural disasters and just God's will, can be terrifying. But we're not here to live in fear. We're here to take that leap of faith, put God first, and leave it with Him. Another thing I think about that's a little scary is the fact that I don't have medical insurance. This is the first time in my life I haven't had a job where my medical insurance has been paid for. And since we are in this pandemic, it's been a stretch, a little scary, but I have relied on faith. And with God's grace, I'll make it through this, and we'll all make it through this together. I'd be interested to know how you guys are dealing with insurance. I think about farmers insurance. I don't know exactly how farmers insurance got started and what they were really all about. I assume that they were really a farmers insurance company for agrarian, rural families who had farms, but I don't know that they offer any kind of medical or health insurance. I don't think that they do, but it would be nice to have something like, Haggerty, for example. If you're familiar with classic cars, Haggerty as an insurance company really focuses on people who have classic cars. They're specialized in that, and there are a lot of incentives when working through them. Now, typically someone isn't going to go with Haggerty unless they do have a classic car, but the same might hold true for a medical insurance company who focuses more on rural, agrarian, homesteading communities who need medical insurance. We all need to go to the doctor. I wonder how the Amish do it. Anybody out there who know much about or live close to Amish, or if you're in Texas, you may know about the Anabaptists. Maybe you're familiar with them and have some understanding of how they deal with medical problems, needing to go to the doctor. So a little more about me. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I predate the personal computer. When I started working with computers, there were punch cards, and there were the first modems. In fact, when I first started programming, you would take a phone off of the hook and put it into a coupler, a telephone coupler, covered the receiver and the transmitter side, the voice and the hearing side of a phone, and that modem, modular demodulator, would send the signal off to a computer that was typically owned by some big corporation. In those days, computers filled an entire room, and you would process programs, and then it would return a response to you and print it out on what looked like a big roll of recycled paper towels. It was kind of a brownish paper, but it was a big drum roll of paper on the back of what looked like a typewriter, and it would print out the results on the back, and you would follow along with what was going on. As you can tell, I am passionate about the great state of Texas, and my family has a long history from being here. We've had people who worked in the railroad, raised cattle, developing aircraft, civil engineering, teaching, military service. We still have some active duty military members. And of course we have a couple of Aggies in the family. Gig 'em. So as I mentioned, my next big step is to focus on finding that piece of property, finding my little piece of heaven, start the process of growing my own food and raising animals, living a sustainable life, hopefully living my best life. And although it's scary, quitting my job and taking this leap of faith, I know that it's well worth it and God is behind me. If you have been watching my previous videos, you may have noticed that I always end my videos by saying happiness is the new wealth. And the reason I say that is because in working for a big multinational corporation, sucking all the life out of me, I really understood as I get older that happiness is what it's all about. It's not about all the things. It's not about all the money. I mean, you can have all the money in the world and you'll still be miserable. Actually, there was one comedian, I can't remember his name, but he used to be really kind of droll and just kind of very monotone in his delivery. But he would always say, "You can't have everything. Where would you put it?" So that's it for this one. I really just wanted to sit down with you and have kind of a one-on-one conversation, talk to you a little bit more about me and tell my story. Telling the story is important to me, and what this channel is really all about, and connecting with you. And what better way to connect with you than to share who I am and what I'm all about and what I'm doing. Thanks again for stopping by and taking a look. If you've been a subscriber for a while now, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll consider it. I hope that sharing in my journey is enticing you to hit that subscribe button. I hope that you'll give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And don't forget, happiness is the new wealth.